Okay, so welcome to ZED Talks. This is our episode, our show. I mean, I never know what to call these things already, but anyway, we're just going with it. So Emma, Djemil has just joined, and Emma's going to talk about what Emma does, and we're going to just go with the conversation. And but let's give a little bit of stage setting for the audience. Emma has hosted the HR Big Meet for a few years now. And in May, I was so privileged to be a part of your panel, Emma. And we talked about the woo to do, which we'll unpack a little bit as we go through this session. But I'm going to hand it over for you to do a bit of an introduction for the audience. Over to you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me to chat. This is great. I'm excited already because it's getting clear in my head about what we might kind of talk about. So yes, I'm Emma Djemil. I have hosted this event for women in HR. I'm all about um, I've worked in HR my whole life, and have seen and experienced and been at the detriment of how kind of woefully unsupported the HR profession is. And as a mum, I see kind of the impact of being a woman in the workplace, a mum of a daughter, and I'm like, that's not going to happen for her. It still might. The change isn't going to come as quickly as I need it to for her. But I'm all about basically getting women in a place of authentic leadership for them, which to me involves feminine energy. So we're already going with the woo because people are like, oh my God, you said the word feminine and you said the word energy. So we're starting off strong. But yeah, I believe that the world of work will change when there is more expression of the feminine in leadership. And my route to that is helping women express that and be okay with that and not trying to fit into the masculine paradigm. That's not how I've ever described myself before, but I'm going with that's what came out.
Well, there's a lot of love for that because I think people are going to be very curious and interested whether you are somebody that believes in a sort of energy. I'd describe it as esoteric, maybe metaphysical, and not everybody believes in that, and that's okay, right? So, on the HR big meet, so we're going to get into that because we're having a very brief discussion, and I said, "Can we record this?" Because it was an event I want you to talk about. I mean, it had an amazing impact. It was being talked about for a long time. And for those of you that don't know or haven't been, it's a day event where HR professionals come and celebrate each other, take their kind of like professional hats to one side, and are human beings and empowerment of each other. I mean, you can obviously give more details and furnish that, but from an experience of somebody just rocking up and having a little chat on stage, and maybe having a little bit of a flirt with, posting some things to promote is a whole different ball game, arranging that event. So we started on talking about that. And maybe I'd love you to share with you your version of events. If you went to the HR Big Meet, you'll absolutely understand what Emma's probably going to discuss. But over to you.
Yeah, so the HR Big Meet is it's specifically for women in HR. So I do believe that there's a need for um sp spaces where we can be in our authentic feminine energy and that's nothing against men being in the room before anyone kind of says that, but it changes the energy, so it's for women in HR and it's very much themed around like what are the challenges that you're experiencing as women in HR. So I coach that demographic and I see the kind of regular challenges that are coming up for us and also asked when people bought their tickets this year what are the challenges that you're having. So the day is specifically themed. It's not a technical. You're not going to. I always joke at the beginning. You're not going to get any law updates. There's going to be no cheapie this year. There's going to be no AI. I was like,
Thank God.
no, right? It's deliberately different in its content because I don't believe that that space kind of exists. And we need it. We need to recognize ourselves as the humans within the profession because so often we are suppressing our human experience in pursuit of helping other people with theirs. But there's huge problems with burnout in the profession. There's a lot of women that I coach losing confidence, losing faith in themselves, don't value themselves or what they bring to the organization. And I'm just, what I see is the empathy and the care and the kindness and the emotional intelligence. And I'm like, that is exactly what we need in our workplaces, more of that. We shouldn't be suppressing that. We shouldn't be doubting the power of that. So the space really is about, largely it's about connection. It's about dropping the job title and saying, let's just connect really and say, this is really tough what we're dealing with. And let's see what the impact of that has could be if we connect and if we start talking about the stuff. So the women on stage, all women in HR, deliberately amplifying the voices of women in HR who often don't feel heard, sharing their experiences in the pursuit of helping people with theirs. And the impact, yeah, it's been huge. I think for people to sit in the audience and be like, there's a woman on stage who's like been through some stuff, and I'm going through that, and all these women around me are like resonating as well, and I'm not the only one. That in itself is hugely powerful, let alone the kind of learning that you get from it too. So, and what we were talking about before was my version of the woo to the do, because that was the topic of the panel. People, we do tend to get a bit, again, is it professional to be woo, to be a bit like spiritual and to talk about energy and femininity and that kind of thing? That's not professional. Like, hello, doggy, I'm getting a puppy. Like, did you know I'm getting like I'm obsessed with dogs.
He was doing this at me, and I'm like, no, not
Oh,
right now, not right now. So sorry,
wanted a
it wasn't
cuddle.
supposed to interrupt you, but
No, it's
yeah,
fine.
you know what? This we were talking about getting slow. We're talking about woo to do, getting slow, having a dog. He's 8 years old. He's not mine, and I'm dog sitting right now. And he's a little special guest on the ZED Talks every now and then. I have to slow down because he
Yeah.
depends on his walks, his feeding, everything. And, it makes, I mean, you've got a child, I don't. So this is a baby to me. And I know that that might seem completely ridiculous for some people, but thinking of something other than self is kind of like, but that's also very, uh, systemic of us. We look for something outside of us to care for us, to care for, to serve, to do all these things, including pets. And yet I will take him out, do everything I need to do for him before I do myself. And that's a direct kind of like almost like association of, well, that's interesting, isn't it? I'm doing everything else for everyone else, but I come last. Now you could call that servant leadership, but I think there's a little bit in there which is we have to put our own oxygen mask on first before we can help others, and so it's the airplane analogy. But anyway, we're talking about the woo and for you, because I want to know what the event was like for you actually. Like, what did you take away from it? What was your thing? Because you're facilitating everybody else exactly what you're creating space for. How do you create space for you? Who does that for you?
Uh, I mean, you never practice what you preach. Come on, Zoe. Like, um, yeah, that's very much that's a really good question, because I would definitely say this year that hasn't happened. So, and this is what I was starting to talk about beforehand, was like the event itself is amazing. I loved the event this year. I absolutely loved it. It was exactly what I wanted it to be. The venue was great. I was great. I'll say that. I was like, my energy was perfect. I was on point. I felt on point. And the workshops worked really well. It was brilliant. And is one day enough to justify the year-long effort, sleepless nights, financial risk, um, sheer volume of brain space that it takes up for me? And that's very much what I'm sitting with at the moment, because I'm an impact driven person. My whole thing is I want to have impact in the world. And again, so many of the women that I work with feel the same. They're like, I want to make this workplace a great place for people to be, driven by impact, without creating space for yourself, without the ability to pause, without the ability to ask for help. Trying to do it all is a surefire way to getting yourself in a bad situation. And I felt that this year. I'm really on a real go slow right now. deliberately, because I have noticed not being present with my daughter. I've just said my daughter's a huge motivator for me, and what I've seen in myself is constantly being on the next. So as soon as the second HR Big Meet finished, I was thinking about the next, like this one that's just been. And then the same thing happened in year one. Year one was great. No one had been to anything like that before. It was like, oh my God, I've got to do it again. You get caught up and swept up in the impact and the belief, well, everyone needs this, so I've got to do this. Like it is needed. And it is needed. And does it need to be me? I do think it is me. But yeah, where I'm at the moment is very much just stay in the moment, have slow down. Yes, the impact is great for the people, but how long do I prioritize that one day of impact for 300 people as opposed to me, as opposed to my time with my daughter? Yeah, and that's where I'm at. And the reason that's spiritual for me is I trained with an organization called One of Many. We that deals with feminine archetypes. One of those feminine archetypes is the sorceress, and the sorceress is very much about pause. It's like the winter. It's tied with the winter energy. So it's about pause. It's about rest. It's about going within. So I'm there. I'm like I am slowing this down and just reflecting and being intentional, because it's a real time for me to, my daughter turns 8 in September. I'm going to look, she's going to get to the point where she doesn't want to hold my hand. She doesn't want to come and be with me and, play with me. And am I going to look back and be like, oh, I wasn't present for that. I really regret that. That's where I'm at. So.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that these moments of kind of vulnerability open space up for others to kind of like acknowledge and accept where they are in their
Absolutely.
journey. And I think that that's really important, especially when you do hold a public figure, like, being in front of 300 people, knowing that you're having impact. And I wouldn't underestimate that. That impact is huge. And people are still talking about that day. You asked the question, which is a day enough? I think we need more like it, Emma, but you're right in terms of what cost. And that's cost is energy, opportunity, time, money. We could go on, right? So I think that we mentioned about sort of feminine and masculine. I'm going to kind of go a little bit more into that because I feel like for an audience that maybe don't understand this, just to give a little bit of parameters, this is nothing to do with gender, it's everything to do with energy. And we've all got a duality within us, which is a feminine and masculine. So in other words, I'll just translate that into the masculine is head thoughts, the feminine is heart feeling. And when you are a powerful woman, it's very natural to go into a masculine energy. And we are taught in our workplaces that we need to be more like our male counterparts because they exhibit much more of that masculine energy. Again, not gender driven, but they being men, at certain levels get very, or have been in the past, not so much now. I think there's a lot more to do, but women have always been told that we need to be more, whereas men don't have that same stereotypical be more soft, be more, or a masculine. So I am mixing up a little bit of gender and masculine and feminine energy for purpose because we do see it play out in certain people. I always say magic happens in the being. And so with the elements, the seasons, I do think that there's a part of sowing seeds, whether it's prepping the soil, and I talked about plant analogy at the talk, so there's a tie in there. But the whole premise of there's time to push and there's time to harvest, there's time to give and receive in different elements and stages and phases. So I think it's important to understand who we are. So bringing that back to you're consciously and deliberately going slower. And what's that giving you right now? What are you feeling in relation to that? Because that's quite a hard thing to do when you're very go, 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 go. and very impact driven, you know, how is that within your family unit? Are you doing less work, less hours? How's that showing up for you?
Yeah, well, yesterday afternoon I watched the series one of Ted Lasso. Just like, do you know what? I'm not in the mood for work. So I didn't. I feel good with it. I think. Oh God, but I think when you do like personal development, it's a journey. When you've been on a journey, I hate saying stuff like that. It sounds so like, oh God, but I am very I reflect a lot I reflect a lot, and I feel really peaceful. I feel really like,
Lovely.
yeah, this is okay. And there's a part of me, Zoe, that is oh, it's a frustrating part of me that is needs to keep up, needs to fit in, needs to like not get left behind. You know, I do have a lot of followers on LinkedIn. I'm in a group of people on LinkedIn where people are like, "Oh my God," and I love that, and I love that people follow my content and stuff like that. I'm like, well, I can't stop doing that because then I'll lose all of that. I can't not do an event because other people are doing events now. So there's a part of me that's really fighting this and just being like, but you've got to keep going because that's what I've always done. And that, but it's very much being taken up, being dulled, and it's there, but it's not leading the way at the moment. The part of me that's leading the way is like, it's okay. Your situation is your situation. I've got an 8-year old. I've got a mother-in-law with dementia. We've got a lot of stuff going on outside of trying to change the world, right?
Yeah.
And right now, what that probably means for me, if I want to be the kind of mum that I want to be, if I want to be able to support at home, that I can't spread myself that thinly.
Yeah.
That's the bit that's taken, and that feels peaceful because I'm like, that's actually okay.
I love
Because
that. I love feeling peaceful. That's such a no amount of money can put anything on that feeling, Emma. No amount of money. You could
100%,
when in fact money probably the more I've had of it, the less peaceful I am.
100%.
More simple life is, and the more in the being I am, that actually everything comes so much more into balance, and everything is just so it's not a challenge to make a decision because it's a yes or no. It's like it's either feeding me or it's not. But you've got to be so connected. So what I'm hearing is that you're super connected to yourself right now. You're super connected to your feelings. You understand, and even to the point of that you're hearing your voice, that part that you mentioned, saying, well, there's part of me that's got a FOMO, there's a part of me that's got JOMO and every other sort of acronym we can make.
Yeah,
That part of us is a bit restless, and that is our ego part. That is always, and that's the kind of very masculine energy that we're accustomed to have. But in the being, and I'm going to pick up on the LinkedIn and having a presence and setting the bar and the standards high that you now hold yourself to. Um, do you think that there's space to be able to shift and move that into a place which your audience can also mirror and match and be able to go on that journey? I know we don't necessarily like to say the journey or the
oh,
path.
I'm such a coach. I say journey.
I mean, I feel like people will adopt and change because we have to adopt and change. That's the given that we will always have is change is absolutely inevitable. And I wonder if there is some thinking around, well, if where I'm coming from is your ripple is profound. You've got 300 people in a room, but that ripple goes far beyond. Imagine that they've just got one person that they go home to that they say, oh my God, this one thing happened to me today. That's 600 people. And that's probably
Yeah.
absolutely underestimating the number of people that you help and that you create these light bulb moments for, you give space for. And so sort of coming back to that, the piece of that, do you think you would be this peaceful if you hadn't done that, if you hadn't been pushed to your limits, because it sounds like you have, in organising the HR Big Meet, and now on reflection, do you think that that would have happened if you hadn't have done and gone out to be so bold and impactful? Would you be where you are now and so peaceful, do you think?
No, that's what's so frustrating, I think, is you learn your biggest lessons through the toughest things.
Yeah,
So frustrating. Like, just give
I
me the
know.
life lessons about the pain, dudes. Come on.
I'm like, give me some love, but you don't
Yeah.
know what love is unless you've not had it. You don't know what
Right.
difficulty is unless you've had it, right?
Yeah, no, no, 100%. I wouldn't be. It was a conscious decision last summer to go to a bigger venue to grow the event because people didn't like the layout, and I was like, right, I'm going to find you a room that you can sit in the tables that you like sitting in, and it was a conscious decision, right? So that growth that was meant to be. Um, and yeah, I made that choice, and and as a result, it was really hard. And I wouldn't have had the chance. I wouldn't be doing this thinking now if it hadn't been that hard.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be like, well, actually, that isn't what I want. That's not what I want. I want the day. Don't get me wrong. I want the day. I love the day. I love it. I love the day.
Yeah, it's getting
But
to that day, isn't it? That's the
the day, it's not just one day. It's literally a year long
yeah,
thing.
absolutely. All of that for a day. Put the doggy down because he's a bit restless.
Restless now.
So going back to the woo, can I ask about
Yeah.
sort of the woo for you? So doing the woo, you're doing the woo. That's what I'm kind of observing now, is that you're doing the woo, which is deep reflection, being present in the moment and very connected to yourself, your body, your thoughts, your feelings. And that's a beautiful place to sit. And I hope for everybody else that they can find this kind of almost space to do that, because everyone is so on this bloody hamster wheel, and I'm hearing it every day. I haven't got time, I haven't got time, I haven't got time. Well, illness, on a spiritual sense, illness only happens when we are absolutely going down the wrong path. Now, people, I'm not a medical practitioner. Yes, I'm doing my PhD, but that means piece of paper. It's when you practice something, right? But if you're going down the wrong path and you are not looking at the signs that are saying stop, because there will be, right? When you're not tapped into yourself, you don't see the signs because you're so distracted and bombarded with all of the external stuff. We kind of like suppress down, and we might have gut ache or stomach ache, or things might be hurting in our body. And so that's a sign. And we still don't listen to it. And we kind of go, okay, done. No, you can't do this now. It's not convenient for you
Yeah.
to be this now. So we're just going to shove it in a closet, push it down, and not worry about it for now until something magnificent happens and you're taken off your feet and there's
Yeah.
no control.
Yeah.
And then that is a direct, I call it the sledgehammer. The sledgehammer's come, it's knocked you off your feet and said, if you don't listen, I'm going to make you. So I'm going to make you so ill that you actually have to immobilize yourself. And I think what you've done is saying, and I'm not saying that you were heading there, what you're saying is, I'm choosing to go into this mode of almost like stillness so that I can deeply listen, and I'm avoiding actually that, what I just described, that sledgehammer
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah.
And I think that that is incredibly powerful, brave, courageous. And I hope that other people will take a real sense of, it's okay to sit in and lean into that stillness, however you get there. It's an individual way. And I can't necessarily say what my way is your way and vice versa, and everyone listening to this. What do you have a thought around practices or things that you're doing to kind of nurture yourself and that stillness at this moment? Do you have a time limit that you got on yourself? Do you have thoughts about where you're going to take what you're doing next? Is that information?
I I have it in my head that I'm not going to think about it until September. September for me suddenly all the answers will become clear. Um, yeah, right. No, so I've got this. I've got the summer. Amara's about to go on her summer holidays. Um,
Lovely.
I I'm operating right now as if there is no big meet in 2026, and that very much might be the reality, to be honest. Do I think that come September there'll be a miracle answer? Do I feel like September I'm going to want to ramp it up again and get into that mode? I'm not sure. At the moment, I'm so like, you're really in the present, just like, oh, yeah, it's just, yeah. So, and and I'm like, well, where's this come from? Because this is new. This is very new. This ability to know that there's that ego part. I really easily could have launched early bird tickets within those like couple of weeks after the big meet because the feedback was so amazing, because I knew the impact, because I felt so good. But I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that because I also know what that means if I do that. And I know what that means to me. So are there actual techniques? And what I'm doing at the moment is just almost having conversations with myself. So when what is this? It's like it's just being able to identify the voice for what it is. So this voice that's like, well, you should do an event. You do need to do that. You're going to lose it all. That's not the reality, but it's constantly saying to myself, that's not the reality. And reminding me, it's just a constant thing. And it's also saying, I've also really look at what I can do. Look at what my potential is, right? So if I can take this time right now, I've already created something incredible when I've just been going at it like 110%. Not what about when I'm coming from a centered, powerful, calm like
Mhm.
place? What's the potential then, right?
Yes.
Potential then. That's what I'm doing is I'm talking to myself all the time, and that's new for me. Saying to myself, "You created something incredible." Yeah, I absolutely did. I absolutely have. My potential is limitless. My potential is huge. But do I have to go at it 110% to the expense of my family? I don't.
Yeah, but there's a balance in everything, right? And you're reminded me. So this is a really exciting conversation, and I just had a call earlier on with somebody that I worked with in my Adidas days. He then became a client of mine for a short while. We're still very connected, and some clients that I coach, and I don't do a plethora of coaching individuals now, just because I'm pivoting, life is taking directions and I want to go with the energy of what I feel is right now. But what we were talking about earlier on, and one of the interventions that I would do is talk to you in a team. And so, what you're describing, and it's a bit like a parts integration within NLP, actually, it's a similar thing. However, it's very self driven. So, you can do this yourself. And it is just imagining you're in a room with two seats, you're occupying one, and opposite you is an empty chair. And if you can get into that place of stillness, and I mean, I don't think there is ever silence. Even I can hear a heartbeat or a breath. There's never true silence for me. I don't think that exists. So I'd like to describe it as stillness coming into, and I usually do that with about 5 to 10 deep breaths. I'm watching my breath come in and out. Breath is so available,
Yeah.
free, constantly, yet we underutilize it. And when I can get into that place, I invite. So I'm now close my eyes and I'm visualizing that empty seat, and I'm saying, which emotion wants to come and speak to me? Who needs to be heard and seen?
Mm.
And eventually there's a whisper, and that's why the stillness is really key. It's a whisper or a feeling or a sensation, and then I almost like invite them come forward. And if you've ever used the Ho'oponopono prayer, it's a Hawaiian prayer which is based on I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I normally would say to that emotion, I love you, it's safe, come forward and talk to me. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to listen, not defend. And by having that voice with my emotions, and I do this regularly, and I would, once I've done it with a client, I'm like, now you go off and do your thing, but you keep asking deep questions without And when you're faced with your emotion, it's much easier to ask a question, not of myself, but of my emotions. So, what's coming up for you? What do I need to learn from you?
Yeah.
What is it that you want to tell me? What do you want to express from me? And have that deep inquiry and keep being grateful to that emotion. Thank you for sharing that with me. And give it some instruction. The subconscious is so powerful that if we were then to say, could you, for example, it might be that you get a feeling of guilt come up. Guilt is a strong one that comes up for a lot of people, or remorse. And then I would say, and they say, well, I want to lose it. So the emotion might speak to me and say, or the client and say, I need to trust myself more. So then the direct subconscious action would be guilt. I want you to work with trust. Can you do that? And then you've got a commitment, and the key word is now, because the subconscious needs that key word to direct its kind of view perspective. But that is incredibly powerful
Yeah.
for any of us to do. And it is just being led by. So when that emotion is now finished, is there anything else? And you get a clear, you'll feel it. It's like it's done, it's complete. Step back, please. Any other emotion that wants to come. And this could be 5 minutes, it could be 50 minutes, it could be 4 hours. So, I mean, it's better to be facilitated, but when you're talking to emotions, it's super healthy. So we call it the inner team. So probably Yanis, he won't mind me talking about it, because we're going to probably talk about it on the podcast as well. And some people might feel this is wooey, but your emotions and your feelings are a legitimate, absolute part of you, just like your physical body. So why wouldn't you want to have communication with them and listen to them? And that's when I said at the beginning, when you're in the being, which is a more feminine energy, that's where magic happens, because answers come, clarity comes. And I hope that that kind of made sense to people listening to this, because it's, if we are our own GPS system, we've got
Totally.
everything we need inside of us. All of the things that we feel and sensations is a sat navigation to our wherever we're meant to be. We just, sometimes we just need to allow our little navigation system to take us where we need to go. That's right and true for us. So it
Yeah.
sounds so amazing that you're on this journey, and I'm very, I can't wait to, of course I'm not going to stalk you, but I'm like, want to know what happens. And
What comes next?
poof,
Yeah,
everything
magic.
ignite. What does September look like for you now? What's your normal routine when it comes to work?
Well, September is when Amara goes back to school, so it's normally a little bit hectic. I feel like maybe what am I, is this, she's reception one, two. It'll be my fourth year doing like September start again. So I feel like, I hope I'm more in my vibe, but like the barrage of like emails and stuff, and you just, ugh. Um, but normally around September, I would probably then be launching big meet tickets and starting to think about getting speakers and stuff like that. Um, like I say, it it goes on forever. Um, so what does that look like this year? I don't know. I'm also really like reflecting on what do I want from, what do I really want? Not what my ego wants to be on the stage running an event for 300 women with all the kudos and the praise that goes with that.
Yes.
And the impact. I still want impact, but what do I really want? I really want to be able to do day trips out, to go to the theatre, to have holidays, and for it to be simple. That's what I really want. So whatever comes next will be done with ease. It will probably be done in collaboration. It has to be done in collaboration. But and open, and yeah, and I think opening, having a conversation like this, being honest about where I'm really at, and I put a post out after I put a post out after the big meet saying I don't know if 2026 can happen. The impact's been
All
huge.
that.
That, people, you've got to open yourself up for help as well. And we just don't, again, we just don't do that. The masculine is individual achievement, like, success at all costs. Like, let's lean into the feminine energy of collaboration, of compassion, of vulnerability, of care, and let's do it all together and see what. So, I don't know what that looks like, but I believe in the space. I believe in the need for it. But
I have a prediction, Emma. I
oh,
have a prediction that what you've described is there's a head heavy part and there's a heart heavy part. I believe that what's going to happen by September is that these two parts may, I dare say, come into parallel with each other. So I would say to anybody, these are the shortest distances to connect, but the longest journey, pathway, roadmap to ever get there. But it sounds like what you're doing is these two spheres have been, maybe you're feeling the polarity of those at the moment. But what might happen is that these shift into some, I can do that event, I can get accolade and praise and fulfill that part of me of significance and stuff, which is not wrong. Lots of people, I mean, we want recognition for what we're doing when we're impact driven, the same way that it's got to speak to your heart, which is, I want simplicity and I want flexibility and I want to do this. So actually, does the buck all need to stop with me? Can I bring in partners that I trust, know, love, and can do that journey with me? So it's a shared experience. Yet I'm still getting the part of me that desires this. I make a little prediction that this will morph over in September. You'll be like, I know a way. I know a way. I've got a seed of a thought that I'm going to kind of do it it will still have the same impact, but I'm going to do it in a different way than I've done it before. And I suspect that might happen. I could be wrong, but I'm just going with my spidery senses and my tingling that I get in my body.
Yeah.
Which is just all
tingles.
The tingles.
That's mine.
Tingles and well, I mean, and for anybody listening, we talked about the for those listening, should I say, we talked about the tingles and sensations. These are also signs from the body. That is confirmation. Every sensation is a response. Now, that's not what we know as a humanly response, because we talked about esoteric and metaphysical, the woo. The woo talks to us in a different language. That's the language of woo. Love a bit of woo.
Love it.
This has just been so. Listen, I'd love you to come back and share your experience maybe in 6 months and where you're at, and keep on the journey. I think ZED Talks, I want to have connections so that people can be inspired to follow. Of course, I'm going to put a little blurb about you in the description, and so you can connect with you. But meantime, as we're coming to a close for today, I'm incredibly grateful for your time, for your openness, your vulnerability. This has been great. I forget that we're recording, right? So, I mean, I go into my own little world because it's just wonderful. And that's what it's designed to be, for people to kind of step off their norm, and maybe this helps somebody else on their journey, because you are not alone. You are not alone.
No, I'm not, because I know that I'm dealing with it with my clients, and it's people are desperate for a break from their work, from the hamster wheel, and just don't believe that pause and that slowness is accessible. And yeah, I know I'm privileged, and I'm self-employed, and that I don't have some boss telling me what am I doing, and I'm not committed.
We're not doing that, are we? We're not doing that.
We're not doing that. I think
absolutely, yes. Yeah.
But it is accessible to everyone. Even if you don't have the space to stop doing work, you have the space to take a pause at the end of your day and really reflect and just be intentional, instead of getting caught up in the ego stuff, in the shoulds, in the must. I should be this job title, I should be doing that. Like, just do that, take the stillness. Just think, is that really what I'm driven? Is that really what I'm driven by? And if not, then do something different. Because it is literally that simple. I know it doesn't feel that simple, but it literally is.
Yeah, that's why you need others to help us. That's why why we've got coaches. That's why you've got you or the me's of the world. And whilst we do things differently, we enable others to take, when we're not internally driven by our own permission, our own validation, our own approval, and we look for external. I think that's where having somebody to really kind of nudge you and to hold a mirror up and say, by the way, if you're not prepared to do this for yourself, what are you also teaching your children?
Yes.
You're teaching people around you that it's okay to self-sabotage you. It's okay. So that's abuse in a way, and we just don't recognize it as that. So bravo to you holding that flag. I'm so excited what might happen. So September, I'm going to be like, knock, knock, knock. Emma, what's happening? I'm on the journey with you. But thank you so much for being here today. I really, as I said, I'm very grateful and privileged to have your time and you sharing with us. So on behalf of all the listeners, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'd love your feedback. And you can connect with Emma with the info in the description. So thank you. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.